Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life can be a little bit miserable, life can be a little bit dark, so we are here to bring you as much light and as much joy as we possibly can. Once again, I'm Bradley and I'm joined by Stu. I've completely lost my train of thought, so I have no pithy intro whatsoever, so how you doing, Stu?
Yeah, I'm all right. I've been on a kind of a dark tip this week, if you want to accept that phrase. I've been kind of reading a lot of kind of analog horror, watching a lot of analog horror and stuff like that, which is good. And it's kind of matched my mood with work, which has been a digital horror this week. So, yeah, it's been it's entertaining, but it's on the darker side of stuff. But yeah, you need to do that every now and again, I reckon.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I agree. Don't mind a bit of darkness, a bit of the macabre.
Yeah, well, it doesn't frighten you very much, so that's one good thing.
No, it really, really doesn't. I've been watching a couple of things, like a couple of retrospectives on some horror films and stuff like that, and they're talking about how it was terrifying and sort of like, this is how you... And I'm like, just, yeah, it's jumpy, but it's not scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Apart from cheeky jump scares, there's not much in horror that scares me. Which is why I've been enjoying the analog horror thing, because it's very surreal, and it doesn't seek to explain anything. And so that combination of stuff is really good at making you unsettled, because it's much more existential. It's much less focused on monsters and jump scares. And yeah, no, I've been really enjoying it.
Yeah, I think slow burn stuff that can tap into the existential side of things, I think that works really, really well. And there's a few horror films in the past that have done it, but not many do. Many still go for we've got to make the money, so we've got to go for the scares, which is a shame, because I think it's an untapped market.
Well, it's certainly going to be tapped now, I reckon, with the success of the Backrooms. But yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, but that's the Backrooms, and I know you like Backroom stuff, don't you?
Yeah, very much.
I've tried it a couple of times, watched a couple of videos. I've played one of the Backroom style games, and I was just left feeling empty, much like the Backrooms.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. It's more of a niche, but yeah, you never know.
Do you know what else is empty, Stu?
What's that?
The moral room of video game executives.
Yeah. Yep.
So let's talk video games.
Yes, let's do that.
So we talk video games first, then we do your bit, and then we'll rip into Rockstar after.
Yeah, have a chat about what you've been playing. So, what have you been playing?
Right, I teased it last week. It's not a massive game, but I thought that doesn't really need a tease. But I've been playing a 3D platformer called Duskfade, which is, for all intents and purposes, it's basically a PS2 era platformer for all the good and some of the not so good as well. For it's literally, if you loved like PS2 era platformers, so Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank and stuff like that, so many elements of it there. But it's also brought in a bit more melee combat in there as well. So not Dark Souls or anything like that, but it's a bit more involved with the combat than your general sort of like Banjo-Kazooies and your Ratchets, your Clanks, your Jacks and your Daxters and all things like that. So this is a very much a dark fantasy world that you are part of. Is lots of purples and sort of like on that spectrum of colour waves and everything, and it does feel very otherworldly, which I'll come to why I think this is important in a minute. And you play a character called, I think it's pronounced Zirian, is how it's pronounced, and he's got this kind of mechanical cuckoo type sidekick thing. And he's basically got to go and save his sister. It's a very PS2 era where the main character's got to have some kind of sidekick. And it's not really comical sidekick as such. It's not like the light relief, but it's there and it adds a bit of, I suppose the word you could go is colour commentary in a way. Um, and it's got this really, really cool visual style that they've described as clock punk. And yeah, I think that's the I think that is honestly the best way to describe it. It's definitely got that kind of that cloud punk style look, but lots of features with clock faces, clock hands, zifferblats, and all things like that. Because I will use the correct terminology, because that's one fact I do know. But it's just an interesting platformer that's got a half decent story behind it, which is sort of damsel in distress trope, but doesn't go, she's a helpless damsel and she is your reward. It's not gone for the, she's the princess at the end, she is your reward because you man save. It's a brother saving his sister, and it could quite easily have worked the other way. And I'm not one that's going to go, oh, why can't this be the girl saving the boy or anything like that? This is just a general, he's a brother, he's saving his sister, could have flipped it, doesn't really matter. There's nothing to look into here. And I've seen a couple of people try and dig this out as a, oh, see, you can have a man doing it. And it's just a cartoon, just, it's not a trope when we're getting a good mix of this stuff anymore. So you haven't got to call it out. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes, there's nothing problematic here whatsoever. I've seen a couple of people call it out, and I'm just like, just have a day off. And it's a weird one. But what this does really well is its gameplay is good. One of the problems I had with a lot of the PS2 era platformers, 3D platformers that is, was the camera movements were poor, the judging where the edge of something was didn't really work, and then you added in the combat, and everything got maybe a bit too, not overwhelming, but just a bit too clunky to play. What this has done is taken lessons from those games and smoothed everything out. So it's not hand-holding. There's still a lot of skill needed to sort of do the platforming and learn your new skills, learn how to fight. But the combat doesn't get in the way of the platforming. The platforming doesn't get in the way of the combat, but it doesn't feel totally separated either. I've seen attempts at this before where it's felt like this would be better as this style game or this style game because you separated it off so much. This has just balanced it really well. There's slow platforming movements. You've got almost like the Sonic style sliding along rails and stuff like that goes on. The battles are like from little minion type things you have to battle to more bigger bosses that you have to battle. And whilst they're not as difficult as Dark Souls, they offer a challenge. Visually, it's kind of got that DreamWorks look to it. It feels like you're playing, from the creators of How to Train Your Dragon or something like that. That's how it visually looks, and it is beautiful to look at as well. As I said, it's a deliberate choice because when you're in this otherworldly setting, you can get away with floating platforms because it's almost dreamlike. So sure, why not? Whereas when you get other ones where they're kind of not real world, but they're set in these worlds that are grounded and they've got floating platforms, and it's like, why is that there? And it's literally just, oh, so your character can get up there. It doesn't make sense. But I think having this otherworldly visual style means that you get away with a bit more because it's so dreamlike in places and fractured that it fits the visual style, it fits the style of the game very, very well. I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through it, and I kind of hit a couple of little humps in there, and I've gone, let's put that to the side for a bit, but then gone back and managed to get through, enjoy the next part, and I think I've got maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours left of the game before maybe I've finished it. But it's a wonderful experience so far.
All right, yeah, no, it looks pretty decent. Not a genre that I was mad for on the PS2. I like Ratchet and Clank never clicked with me and that kind of thing. But and there's a very big Kingdom Hearts influence by the look of it as well.
Yes, sorry, you've caught me there. I had that in my notes at the bottom. Yes.
You have notes?
Yes, I did have a note. Yes, Kingdom Hearts is an influence without being this is Kingdom Hearts. The visual style, there is a bit of a Keyblade in there. Well, sorry, Not a Keyblade. Definitely not in quote unquote a Keyblade.
Oh God, no, it looks completely different. Yeah,
but yeah, no, visually and stuff like that. But gameplay wise, definitely not Kingdom Hearts style thing. But yeah, a couple of visual, they're definitely fans of.
Yeah, it sounds from the reviews on Steam like a couple of people have picked up what you said about it having some clunky issues and getting late game particularly. It kind of drops off a bit. It's not one I'd invest in. There's enough of that stuff around. I don't feel any nostalgic link to any of that sort of stuff, and unless it was absolutely phenomenal, I wouldn't bother. Well, I might if it's like £3 in a sale in 5 years' time, but that's about it for me, I think.
That's fair enough. Again, I think you've nailed it there. It's not a game that's going to go, I don't like platformers. Oh my God, this is amazing. I love platformers. If you were a fan of that era, you're going to find something in this. And we're not talking, this is going to be one of my, oh my God, this is going to be in my discussion for Game of the Year. This is one of those games where I've played it, I will finish it. So that's always a good start. I've played it, I've enjoyed it, I move on. And that's fine. It's 20 quid, I think the game, 25 quid normal price, on sale at 20 quid. You're right, this is going to drop at some point to £3 to £10 at some point, or be in a humble bundle or something like that. And I think for a lot of people, if you pick it up there, you'll get something from it, even if you only play it for a couple of hours, just to see what it's like. But I hope this, not teleports, I hope this kind of gives them a platform now to build on. And maybe follow this up with a sequel that expands and improves, or a new IP that they can base this off, or something. But the indie studios are really picking, again, this is where we're going, these are completely independent, and they're definitely picking up the slack from the AAA studios that don't want to touch this stuff. Sony did, they succeeded with Astrobot, and then went, no, we're out. And Ubisoft seem to only want to reboot Rayman. They don't want to do anything new with it. So, again, it's up to the indie studios. And what I would call this is a good, solid 7 out of 10 game.
Yeah. I mean, there was so much from that era that was really trying to push things, or even just push them a little bit. I mean, you're talking like 3D action platforms. You've got Eco as a bit of a yardstick, and then this kind of cartoonish one. Yeah, it's a little bit simplistic for me, I think. But yeah, no, as I say, might get it if it's very cheap in the future.
Do it. Good idea. So, moving on from playing video games, Stu, to nothing to do with video games, sort of, maybe, but is.
What a fabulous intro that is. Yeah.
We can tell we're near the end of the 6 weeks holidays.
Yeah, you're burning out significantly, aren't you?
Yeah, brain not function properly.
No, absolutely. And I don't blame you. But yeah, no, what I was going to talk about this week, and this is the part of the podcast that pretty much everyone's going to skip. So if we could monitor that things and track it, that'd be quite fun. But I was going to talk about Bazzite. So for a bit of context, if you don't know what Bazzite is already, you're probably not going to want to listen to this. But if you do and you're curious, then listen on by all means. So basically, where to start? So the Steam Deck, right? It's had leaps and bounds and jumps forward in allowing a Linux-based machine, so the operating system Linux, being able to play Windows games. And it's pushed things a great deal forward. And now with the Steam machine, that's got Steam OS on it, so it's a fully operating system. A lot of people are getting disenfranchised with Windows and all of its bloatware and its spying on you and stuff like that. And some people are hopefully wanting to move on to different stuff, particularly for games machines, which normally, obviously they've got a simpler remit. They're not like your work laptop where you've all got all sorts of Windows embedded stuff that you desperately need. So Steam OS, but people are also looking at putting Linux on their PCs, on their gaming PCs. And you can do that with Steam OS, although Steam OS is much more sort of geared towards just the gaming experience. there's a kind of middle ground compromise called Bazzite, which is a Linux fork. What they mean by that is it's because Linux is not made by a corporation, it's made by users. They can branch off and create versions of it themselves that they want to, because it's completely open source, which means that the code for it is available to everybody. You can just make it into whatever you want. Okay, so a little bit of background out of the way. I've dual installed sort of Bazzite on my gaming PC. See if I can ditch Windows. And I just wanted to talk you through the experience. So I'm going to do like a non-techie bit, and then I'm going to do a techie bit. So check, if you're not interested in certain bits, obviously just check the show notes for the timestamps of when they are. I'll make sure I don't bore you to death, or at least I'll try. So, I'm going to do an analogy. I don't do analogy very often, but I'm going to do one to compare like operating systems. So it'll give you a flavour of what you're in for. So like when you're looking at like Apple, Mac OS, that's like a listed building. It's like buying a listed building or a heritage building if you from a different country. So something that's protected. So, very expensive, but very beautiful, full of all sorts of lovely stuff inside. You can change the furnishings, but you can forget about updating like the plumbing or the wiring. You need permissions that you can never get to do stuff like that. And
it's owned by arseholes.
Yeah.
I mean, what? Sorry?
Yeah. Well, that goes for all of them pretty much. But yeah, so, okay, there are one or two webcams up in the property, but the landlord swears they're for your own safety, right?
I need it in the bathroom, honestly.
Exactly. Windows 11, or Windows in general, is a bit like a luxury penthouse that you're renting. So, you speak to the landlord, you buy it, it's gorgeous, it's really nice, but, not to your taste, change it. That's fine. Landlord goes, yeah, whatever you want to do. Not sure how to change it? Oh, we've got loads of advisors to help you out on how to change it. And you're like, every basic need or whim is probably already built in, and if not, go grab one. Most of them are free, most of these things. If not, it'll be fairly cheap, or you can find something that's just as good. And you sit down and your armchair has got like a recliner and a built-in vibrate function, and your toilet's one of those Japanese electric ones with a extendable bidet and all that sort of stuff. So,
Did you say extendable B-Day or D-Day? Because they're two very different things.
Yeah, B-Day. No, there's no bombers or murder or
We're not storming the beaches.
No, there's no beach storming. Yeah, now there may be, and okay, all that's fine. However, there are cameras in the toilets and you can't remove them. You can't get rid of them. So you're stuck with that. Now, Linux, or more specifically in this case, Bazzite, is like being gifted a mansion. So you're given this massive, gigantic space with all the basics, nothing fancy, but there's no second floor, there's no bedrooms. You've got 100% planning permission. You can do whatever you like with it, but you're going to have to make it yourself pretty much. To help you, the trustees have given you an unlimited gift card to a supplier. But if what you want is not on their list, you're shit out of luck. You're going to have to make it yourself. So you can buy all the bits to make it, but then you have to put it together yourself, including your own sort of second floor and roof. You can get loads of helpful free advice, though, all the time. You'll have to really learn from the advice and put it into effect. But, it's out there. Just a phone call away. And the location, it's in France. Now, you've got a bit of, GCSE French, and the people who speak to you know a little bit of English, but it's not the language you're used to. And although you know all the sort of concepts, everything's just a little bit different, and you have to kind of, learn from there. So that's the sort of the way I separate out the different operating systems. So Linux, in short, is a really great idea. It started off as nerdy for nerds, and now it's kind of moving towards, nerds for the general populous, but we're not at the state yet where it's, very easy.
Common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll bring that to life a little bit in the experience that I've had, which is the sort of techie bit. So if you're not interested in the techie bit, then you can tune out now.
Before you carry on with that, did you ever, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, ever buy the computer magazines that would have a copy of Red Hat Linux on the front, and you'd give it a go and then just go, I don't know what I'm doing?
No, but I have had and do have several Raspberry Pis, and I've used Linux quite a lot on them, normally just doing very specific tasks. But I have played around a bit. So I've already invested the money. So that forced me to like get a little bit good at it. But yeah. But no, so the tech, from the tech sort of side, and bear in mind this is all my perspective, and I might get comments of like, oh well, you just didn't do this or you didn't think of that. But that's the whole point, of what I'm talking about. You need knowledge. So when I was getting started, it fired up. It worked straight away, which I was staggered by. Things like your drivers working. So caveat here as well, I've got an AMD processor and an AMD GPU, which is advised if you're going on to Bazzite because it doesn't play very well with NVIDIA. And it just picked up all the drivers straight away. So I had sound straight away, which I was really shocked by. And the graphics card worked, and, GPU was being measured properly when I had to look at the temps and everything. All good. So first thing as well, my hard drives, my SSDs mounted straight away. Great. Okay. But then 2 minutes down the line, doing any reboots to install stuff, doesn't auto mount them. So then you're like, okay, it's not auto mounted drives I need. That's kind of weird because, you start getting back into your Windows head and going, you just stick a drive in, format it, and Bob's your uncle. You never have to think about it again. Oh, no. So with auto mount not being a thing, I had to go into terminal because most of the stuff you're going to do when you're configuring like the more difficult stuff in Bazzite and Linux is going to be via a command line. It's not going to be point and click. You're going to have to open terminal or console, as it's sometimes called, and do it, to the metal pretty much. So I had to do stuff like that to work out like I had to run lsblk-f to give me drive designations of the drives themselves, and I had to create folders for each of the mount points. Then I had to open and add entries for them in FS tab. And all of that didn't work sometimes, had to retry, and I'm comfortable with like DOS, like command line interfaces. I used them first off on the Amiga in 1990, right the way through to using it in DOS. And it's still difficult for me. So finally got over that hurdle. Then there was like copying games to a folder. The folder that I created didn't inherit any permissions. So I'm an administrator. I've created a folder and it's treating it as completely inaccessible and locked down, which, as you know, in Windows, that's anathema. That would never happen unless you locked it down at a network level because you were a net admin. So I had to go back to the terminal, use something called chmod to adjust the permissions, and I'm the administrator, mind you, and I'm still having to run commands using the sudo command, or sudo, which is where you're sort of pretending to be the root administrator.
Yeah.
So, very complex. Now, if you're thinking, well, I'm not going to be doing any of that, you will be, because things that you take for granted in Windows are, often features that are like either absent or they're less user friendly. Like there's no task manager. Like one of the first things I want to do is like open it up, see what's running, what's consuming my, my capacity and stuff. No. So you have to download one, and it may be or may not be as good as the one just built in as a bog standard shortcut command in Windows. No disk manager. That's all done via terminal. So you're scrabbling around. And the most difficult thing about that, on top of it, is that you go off to look for these equivalents, and you're not just working with exes like you do with Windows, or maybe the odd MSI, but basically, if you get an exe, for Windows. You run it and that's it. No, you've got flat packs. You've got all sorts of different stuff that needs either unpacking, that needs mounting, that needs another piece of software to run and install. Now that's fine, I don't mind going through these extra steps and learning more and getting more proficient and gathering the tools that I need. But then you'll run across something you already own that you can't use because it doesn't have a version that works with your particular fork. So I use ExpressVPN, which I pay a goodly sum of money for each year because it's really, really good. And I can't use it. I can use it in browser through an extension on Firefox, but I can't use it on a kind of network level because it's not the installs are not supported. Now I've looked at a few workarounds for this, and I possibly can do it by hacking some of the install instructions in the GZ or tar files or whatever, but it just doesn't work out the box. And there's quite a few like that. I mean, even running the sudo command on some things didn't work, and I had to use something called UJust because it didn't work. And they do have a front end where you can download applications called Bazzite, but it doesn't have everything that you need. So, it's fraught with complications. Even if you're...
It's a great name, though, for its store. That's a great name.
It is a great name. It is, yeah. So it's really like that mansion analogy. It can do just pretty much anything, but you're really going to have to learn to pick up the tools and do it yourself. Now, that won't be the case with SteamOS, but even with SteamOS, there might be things that you think, oh, just drop onto the desktop and look something up using such and such a tool, and that tool doesn't exist, or it's hard to get hold of, or it doesn't work with your fork, or you have to pay for it, or stuff like that. Just a level of friction that you probably won't be used to as a Windows user. You will be if you're a Mac user, because that's a pain in the arse as well, a lockdown environment. But yeah, its openness is both its its plus and its minus. I would say if you're gonna go with the whole, I want a gaming rig that's PC based that uses Linux, I would say look into SteamOS as much as you can, and maybe like converting something into a SteamOS box, like a Steam Machine style box. If you're going to be using Bazzite on your PC, I'd highly recommend starting from scratch. Like get an SSD or a hard drive of whatever you want, an NVMe drive that you specifically use for this, that you can flip out and put your Windows one back in if you really need to. If you're comfortable with partitioning like I am, partition it and do it that way. But don't leave yourself without a Windows install. If you have all sorts of stuff, emulation works really well in Linux, possibly better than Windows, but running games that are not Steam games, there's more hoops to jump through for that. Yeah. And any other productivity software and stuff like that isn't browser based, again, you're going to be looking at some challenges in some places and learning a lot in how to manipulate the OS. So yeah, that was a long section on this stuff, but hopefully it's useful to some people.
Oh yeah, it's interesting because like Linux it's really weird. There's always been loads of Linuxes from ever since I first heard about it. When I very first saw the penguin logo, I say my first one I ever tried was Red Hat Linux, or as I used to call it, Linux. Me too. That's how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
But apparently it's Linux.
Yeah, with two N's it should be Linux. With one N it should be the short one. Should be Linux.
I like that knobhead Linus.
No, not him.
Who's a Rongan for all. I don't even know if he's still a thing. He's a Rongan. But anyway, yeah, Linux. Yeah. Red Hat Linux was the first one I tried. I remember doing that, loading it up on my PC and going, I just what? I want to click something. Why can't I click something? And then, I just gave up for years. Then every now and again something could pop up and I'll go, oh, you can do it on a USB. I'll do that. I still don't know what I'm doing. But I think what Valve have done is, we said this before, that when they first did a Steam machine, 12, 15 years ago now? They first tried it?
Yeah, about 15, I think.
it was purely, I still maintain that was purely a lost leader for them. Let's test the waters. Let's see what can be done. Let's see if we can get some people that might, and that's what happened. SteamOS is, for me, if you could get a SteamOS image, and I think it's now at a level where you can actually install SteamOS on any AMD-based system with ease as an image. And you've pretty much got the closest you're going to get to a Windows experience. And like you, as much as I despise Microsoft, the usability of Windows has not been, for the casual user, for your general user, has never been bettered by anyone, because it allows you that little bit of freedom, as we said, while still keeping you sort of like contained without breaking much. But what SteamOS is doing, it's allowing you to do that. Now, via the Steam Deck, you start off in big picture mode and you go and branch out. It's got the Flatpak store on there, where you can find all your free apps and everything. And as I said, there's a lot of stuff now. You're seeing a lot of programs now are pointing out this will work on a Steam OS. This will work on Steam Deck, even normal programs. So like if you go and got GIMP or Affinity and stuff like that, that will say for Steam OS you can get the download. It will point you to what's what. But you said there's so many different versions of Linux, and I believe even with like Bazzite, there's like 3 or 4 different forks of that.
Yeah.
And you've got to get the right one for that particular fork on that particular distro of Linux. And it is confusing. Now, I don't want Linux to become an all-in-one, everything works on Linux. But what I do want to see is more clever installers. So when, I don't know how much it still happens on Windows, but you used to have a lot of, you download an MSI installer and that would get all the files off the internet and install it that way for you. What I would like to see happen now for Linux distros is, if you're making a Linux-based one and you've managed to do it, announce what it covers. One installer that picks up what your distro is and picks the right file for you and installs it for you. We need, that's got to be, I think, the next step for Linux, because SteamOS now has made it so people can use it and use it simply, but we need to have an easier way for people like myself, I would say, someone who knows enough of technology, but not too much that they can just find their workaround. Just go, I want that, here's my MSI type installer, it's going to get all the bits and it'll work, or it won't work and it'll just go, this is not compatible. Clean, plain English, whatever your language is, that says, this will work, this won't work. With, you download this 2 megabyte installer, it's read what you got, it'll go, no, we can't get you this program. We will feed this back to whatever, and maybe, check back in whenever. I think that's got to be the next stage, because I'm this close, like so close to switching completely, apart from there's about 3-4 things that I need to work on there that will allow me to switch over. Plus, obviously, I need a laptop that's got an Intel processor and graphics card in it and stuff like that.
AMD, yeah.
Aside from that, yeah.
Yeah, that's it, you see. I don't want to leave this kind of making people think I'm all down on it, because I'm not. Like, I haven't even spoken about the game side of it. They've just worked flawlessly.
I can confirm Stu's an idiot. So,
well, you know this. Our listeners know this as well. So it's fair. But the games themselves through Steam absolutely work flawlessly. That are all the ones I've tried so far, and that's superb. And carting over a little bit of knowledge from the Steam Deck, but you don't need much knowledge to operate a Steam Deck anyway. But yeah, no, it works really, really well. I was very surprised and very happy with that. And I think it's even eking out a little bit more performance, but hard to tell because I'd have to do cross comparisons. But yeah, it's really good experience. If you're just using it to go, right, I want to have, my browser, I want to have, the access to like my productivity stuff through browser, so I can write letters and I can do spreadsheets and all that normal stuff, but play games mostly on it, then yeah, it's going to be flawless for you. It's just not going to be a problem at all. I'm more of a power user, so it's more for a bit heavier for me. So yeah, but
but
Yeah.
My have your cake and eat it for Linux would be Lutris, but redeveloped so that you can literally take a Windows program, drag it onto Lutris, into the window, and it go, yep, installed with all the right wine bits and everything like that. Or go, yeah, no, this ain't happening. And that's simply it.
Yeah.
You just drag it on there and it does all the work for you. I'm sure someone could write that program because it pretty much does that for adding games to Steam that aren't Steam games.
Yeah, and the thing with that, and the thing that you mentioned before about what would be great for the future of it, the only problem is that it definitely needs a massive investor to do things like that. Like
that's
Valve.
when things get that's when things get locked down and controlled, isn't it? Which is the unfortunate thing.
Yeah. I think the biggest change we could really hope for is to people just not focusing entirely on Windows versions of stuff and just going, we co-create them alongside Linux versions, and
I think that is happening now, though. It's like Adobe aren't doing that because they know they can't really approach Linux now. They can't get into the Linux side because of what they are, and obviously they're AI bullshitters and everything anyway, so you get rid of Adobe. So I think what we need now is it needs just a lot of the Linux-based alternatives just to become that bit more user-friendly. So I'm using GIMP for instead of Photoshop now. And it's not very fun to use. It's not a great program to use if you've been using Photoshop. But someone has made a program called PhotoGimp, which basically turns it into the Photoshop UI, the shortcuts, and all stuff like that. So you can use it like you use Photoshop. It's not exactly Photoshop. You haven't got like smart layers and stuff like that in there. But it's got, in terms of general look, general feel, shortcuts, it turns it into Photoshop. Needs more stuff like that. When people are making it, go, right, what are people coming from? Why are they coming from there? If they're coming from using Microsoft stuff, what can we do to bring them to our alternative version? Don't have to rewrite. Say what you want about the bigger published companies from the 80s, 90s, 2000s. They've had decades to get the user experience spot on. Learn from them. Learn from them when you're making your alternative. Don't try and be different. That's not what people want. They want similar without the stupid cost and spyware. That's what they want. And I think a lot of the developers for programs forget that sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'd be interested to hear your ongoing experiments with it over the months and years.
Yep, I shall keep you updated, definitely.
Before we go, very quickly, we will do a little bit of housekeeping. Couple of bits of news. Oh, we're a news channel now, apparently. First bit of positive news. Lovely positive news. If you're into Recomps and you love your Recomp stuff, Microsoft aren't going to bring out Project Gotham Racing 4 for PC or re-release it or remaster it. That is now at the alpha stage of a Recomp project. We could be years away, we could be weeks away, we could be months away, but it's happening. Project Gotham Racing 4 is getting a Recomp, and I cannot wait to see the results of that. Cannot wait, that's amazing.
Oh, absolutely, God, yeah. I absolutely love that game. I can't wait to see it coming back. That's such an exciting project. Really.
And others, I suppose it depends how you look at it, this other big news. We've got it before Netflix. Still don't know what that's all about, that deal. But apparently, the PC build of Grand Theft Auto 6 has leaked.
Yeah.
And it's out there. Now, my advice to anyone, don't touch it with a barge pole, because that is just going to be crypto mining bullshit at the moment. Because you know what's going on with the people who have leaked it. Down the line, maybe. I'm not that interested in GTA 6 anyway. But yeah, apparently it has leaked. It's hard to feel sorry for Rockstar or Take-Two, because they're union busters. They're still crunch machines. And I'm still willing to bet, because there's a lot of AI renders out there at the moment of what people are trying to go, oh, look, this is the game, it's leaked, it's just AI. I'm willing to bet at some point over the next 12 to 24 months, there will be evidence of AI slop in Grand Theft Auto 6. Willing to bet that. So I'm not bothered about touching that at all. One little bit.
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
No. But it's out there. I won't be able to play anyway, so I dare say that's not going to run on a Steam Deck.
No, absolutely not. No.
But as I've been playing, I say, a lot of the games I've been playing, like I've just finished the main story in Ghost Recon Wildlands. A game that I think we said was eight years old or something like that, maybe 10 years old now. And the detail in that, now say what you want about Ubisoft, and you know that we have done in the past about how they are as a company and everything, but their attention to detail in the worlds they create, they are now, it's full of towers and stuff like that. But that sense of being in a world, they are masters at it. That's a game that's 10 years old and it still looks good today. And when you're in it and you look at it, you're flying across Bolivia, it looks and feels amazing. A game that's 10 years old. I'm looking at that and I'm going, do I really care? Like, and this is what Grand Theft Auto will do, that the tyres on the cars I'm using are wearing down naturally. Because that's the sort of thing Rockstar do. You know, hair grows naturally, and horses they do things, and it does that really matter. It's impressive just on paper. You go, oh my god, that's such an impressive thing. But how many of us have actually watched a tree grow in Red Dead Redemption for months on end? None of us. It sounds impressive, but it's not. Ubisoft with Ghost Recon, Far Cry, all of those sort of games. Now that it looks impressive, it feels impressive. And it's an amazing world that you're in. That's something where we draw the line on fidelity now. Just look at that. That is amazing. Well, I said it with Recreation compared to Burnout Paradise. They tried to add too much in a new engine that added all. Don't need it. It's smoke and mirrors are what you need. And we're moving away from going from smoke and mirrors to this is what we've actually got. And it's done.
Yeah, I agree. There's only a certain level of fidelity you need. It's art and entertainment combined. It's not, a simulation of the real world, and it should never have to be unless you're playing a simulation.
Or you live in the Matrix.
Precisely.
And if Grand Theft Auto's the Matrix, I don't really. I'll just unplug me.
Too right.
Doogie Howser or whatever he's called. No, what's he called? Not Doogie Howser. That's Doogie Howser, and that's oh my god, Neil Patrick Harris.
The old TV show from the 90s. Yeah.
Dan Howser. No, that's a wrestler, isn't it? Is it Dan Howser?
I think it is, isn't it?
He's also, but there's a wrestler, Dan Howser, as well.
Okay, let's just stick with Doogie Howser.
He's a clown.
Yeah.
Let's just say he's a clown.
Doogie Howser is a clown.
But yeah, that's it. I don't know what else.
I think that's it.
Indies are great. Yeah, retro's great. Modern video games are shit, unless they're indie.
Pretty much. yeah, that's my experience most of the time. But, apart from that, follow us on all the socials. Make sure you're checking out the content on the website. Join us for chat on Discord, and until next week, stay safe and stay sane.